Hi, how you doing, and welcome back to another video on the channel. What we have for you today is a little bit of a different video because normally in these videos we talk about a wildcard team for the next few weeks, but I kind of feel like not many people are wildcarding at the moment. You've either used it already or you're saving it for game week 35. So what we're going to use the video for today is an opportunity to talk about a free hit team for game week 34 and our early thoughts regarding that. So me personally, I am going to be free hitting in game week 34, and I've currently got a team in the top 25k in FPL. So this team we've got on the screen later is pretty much going to be what I'm thinking of doing for my own team. So if it does help you out, please do like and subscribe. The support is always appreciated. Let's take a look at the teams to target. So as we get the teams on the board, these are probably going to stay quite consistent between now and game week 34. What might change are the players you're taking from these teams, whether that's because of injury or rotation or loss of form. I think it is worth noting that we are recording this video before Sunday's games have kicked off, so there are potentially to have some injuries between now and game week 34, as well as some players that might come out of nowhere and catch the attention and we want to put them in the team. So we are going to talk about alternatives in the squad in a second of who we're going to take and who we're maybe not going to take from each team. But I think Arsenal and Liverpool, I would struggle to see a free hit team with less than 6 Arsenal and Liverpool players combined in that team. I think there's a lack of big hitting big teams in this double game week. There's quite a lot of mid-table teams that have doubles. But in terms of your big premium players, there's not that many, which really does put the focus on teams like Arsenal and Liverpool to get players from. Teams like Wolves and Palace, those mid-table teams, they have 2 home fixtures each, and they're not the easiest fixtures in the world, but they do have double the chance to get points, which is why, if you are free hitting in 34, you probably want to get in as many double game week players as possible. But it doesn't mean that we completely ignore single game week teams, and I know I've got Man United in there, but even though it's Man United and they're a bit all over the place, Sheffield United at home is a great fixture for anyone, and it's something that shouldn't be overlooked because we've already seen in double game weeks this year that single game week teams can outscore players with double game weeks. So it's worth considering. Obviously, you want a lot of double game week teams in your lineup, but there are some really good single game week fixtures as well, which we're going to take a look at. So as we get the team here, we're going to start with the keepers, and I think for a single game week, it doesn't really matter who is on your bench. I've tried to go with quite a well-rounded team, but if you want to just sort of shred the bench down, go as cheap as possible and hedge your bets with the starting 11, feel free to do so. You get some more transfer funds for your starting 11. I've gone with Henderson as my starting keeper. Crystal Palace are actually doing quite well defensively. They've only conceded more than 1 goal once in the last 4 games, and that was the most recent game against Man City, where Henderson actually made some really good saves and looked really up for it and sort of on his toes and alert. And, I don't really see a better goalkeeper at a better price for this game week. Those 2 home fixtures do really count as well. No away games in the double. Palace aren't conceding lots of goals. I do think he's a great option. And although Ortega takes a Man City slot, I don't really see anyone using 3 Man City players in this game week, or more than 3 at least. Maybe you've got a couple of attacking players in your team, but I think he's pretty good. He's someone who has been playing, and maybe Edison comes back between now and game week 34 and he's not an option anymore, but at the moment he is also playing, and that Brighton away game does look pretty good. He's also one of the cheapest goalkeepers you could get, so he's not going to take up loads of funds either. So targeting Palace defence is also why I've put in Anderson. Those 2 home games just stand out for me. West Ham and Newcastle are inconsistent at best, and you could possibly catch them on an inconsistent day and really take the benefit from that. Gabriel for Arsenal is the best defender for the best price. He's a threat from set pieces. Nearly scored as well this weekend, potential foul. And the same could be said for Max Kilman, who had a goal disallowed this weekend and is a threat from set pieces for Wolves. So I know there are some players like Aït-Nouri that you might want to get from Wolves, but I do think Max Kilman shouldn't be overlooked. He is guaranteed minutes, and as Wolves are getting players back from injuries, that could reduce the minutes for someone like Aït-Nouri, whereas Kilman, he is guaranteed of those minutes. So on the bench as well for the defenders, I've gone with Maguire and Branthwaite, both single game week players, but they are very cheap playing options with good fixtures. You could totally get in some double game week players if that's how you wanted to play your free hit. I just thought they were quite good players for the fixtures that they had. Both Sheffield United and Nottingham Forest are not having the best seasons. Both these teams are at home, so I just thought they were good options, cheap playing options that you could put on your bench just in case, maybe somebody gets injured before their first game in your defence and you need someone to come in. I think they've both got a great chance of clean sheets. So, like I said earlier, I don't see a free hit team with less than 3 Arsenal players in, and the two I've gone for to round out my 3 will be Saka and Havertz. Now, Havertz is really on form. He's got 11 attacking returns in his last 9 games, and is a great price. A lot cheaper than someone like Odegaard. Definitely a lot cheaper than Saka as well. And he's someone who is on form. Like, he's playing up front for Arsenal, and over the years he's been seen as a bit of an inconsistent player. For me, he is turned into really consistent over the last few game weeks, and he's only just been sort of being noticed. I think the timing is great for this double game week, and he's someone who I'm really considering getting in my team. And the same for Saka. If you've been keeping track of my videos, you know that I've had Saka in all season long, and he actually has 11 returns in his last 11 starts as well. I know he missed the game before, but other than that, and he also got taken off at half time. I think it was against Sheffield United or Luton, where he had 2 assists at half time anyway, and he only got 45 minutes in that game as well. So if he plays all those minutes like he usually does, those stats would be even better. So moving on to the Liverpool section of this team, and I think Salah is Salah, so you absolutely should get him in on this game week. You're going to have money in the bank. 13.4 million is expensive, but even if it's a defensive move, as in, you don't want to miss out on potential points. You might not think Salah's going to score a load of points, but you're a bit worried that so many other people own him that if you don't own him, you're going to get left behind. So even if you get him in as a defensive move, I think he's a great option. And for what it's worth, he's going to get returns if he plays in these fixtures. And the same can be said for McAllister. Super underrated, although now he's playing a bit further forward. He's got 7 returns in his last 6, and I don't really see that changing, because these teams that are going for the title running, what they want is consistency. People talk about rotations, and I know we've had it a bit, but when push comes to shove and you need a win, you're going to stick to something that's tried and tested and that's working in the moment. The last thing teams are going to want to do is change it too much and then lose the title as a result. I think they'd much rather lose the title doing what they think works well in the eyes of the public as well, and they're going to get less criticism for that. So that will involve McAllister playing further up, and as we said, he's having a great few games at the moment. I've put Garnacho on the bench. It's another Man United player, but that Sheffield United game at home is really good. Garnacho is still only 4.9 million, and he has shown he's capable of really big point hauls this season. He is someone who's starting for Man United in every game as well, so he is getting those starts, which will lead to minutes, which leads to more chances for attacking returns. Up front, Darwin has 10 returns in his last 12 games. Attackers from Liverpool are really good for these fixtures. I did look at defenders, someone like Robertson, to get in, but Fulham and Everton, they are capable of scoring goals. What they're not always capable of doing is keeping clean sheets. And I think whilst Liverpool attack might be viewed as overkill by some people, I disagree, and I think they're really good options. You're pretty much guaranteed to be involved in a goal and points whenever Liverpool score if you've got these 3 based on current form. Having Ivan Toney in the team, it might raise a few eyebrows, but I didn't really see many other good attackers with double game weeks. Now, you could potentially get in Solanke instead, but Bournemouth have 2 away games against Villa and Wolves, and both of those teams are better defensively than Luton. Now, when it comes to game week 34 deadline, I'm totally open to having Solanke instead of Ivan Toney, but just as it stands, I do think that this Luton game away will be a lot more open than Villa and Wolves for Solanke, and Bournemouth just aren't on the best of form at the moment. Neither are Brentford, but Brentford have an easier fixture. Now, rounding out the squad, we've got Haaland. I think he speaks for himself. He's another one, a bit like Salah. Brighton are a pretty good game for Man City, and it's someone who, if you don't have him in, could really cause you a lot of damage if they do well, because they're so highly owned than a lot of other players. Now, you could definitely take Haaland out and spread the funds elsewhere, but as we said at the start, there's not really that many big hitting premium players who have doubles in this game week. So it's not exactly like you've got loads of options to put the money in. I think you'd either be getting expensive players who have single game weeks or cheaper players who have doubles. So for me, Haaland just fits the team. He also fits the squad price of 101.8 million. Now, if you're playing FPL seriously still at this stage of the season, that shouldn't be too difficult to attain a team value like that, especially if you've had players for a while. You've maybe had Salah or Saka for a few game weeks now and you got them in at a cheaper price, and so you're not getting them in from the price they are now. They're already in your team and you've saved team value like that. But as we said, you can shed the bench a little bit, save about $1 million in price from your bench that we've got on the screen now, and just go with the cheaper options that aren't going to play because you're back in your starting 11, and you'll save money that way. So when I was looking at this team, the strengths of using the free hit at the moment is for Game Week 34 is that it takes advantage of double Game Week players. It also frees up your transfers. What I mean by that is that, you know, a lot of people who aren't using a free hit in 34, they're planning in and booking transfers now to get the most double game week players they can for that team. And what it does is it kind of nullifies the impact the transfers can have in the current game weeks. And it also means that maybe, especially if they don't have a wild card still to use, they're then having to get out those players afterwards for the players who double in game week 35 and 37. So those transfers, you just leave yourself a lot less flexibility than if you do have a free hit right now. The weaknesses of using the free hit right now is you could be saving it for 37. Now, in game week 37, there's like an entirely new group of teams who have double game weeks, and maybe you like the upside of those fixtures a bit better. I couldn't blame you if you did. There's still some good players and good fixtures there. But you might also want to prefer to use your wildcard now and then free hit in 37. But if you use your wildcard now, we talked about it at the start, you maybe not playing the fixtures as best as you possibly could. At this stage, it's maybe waiting till after game week 34 and then really taking the benefit of the double fixtures you've got for the last stretch of the season. So let me know what you think about my team. Let me know what you think about any of the players that I've got in. Would you swap any players out? Are you planning on free hitting in 34, or have you got a different chip strategy as well? Thank you very much for listening. Please do like and subscribe if you get a chance. It's always appreciated. Good luck in this next game week and the rest of this game week. I will see you in the next one.